The next question that we have was really like, what are the best questions for me to ask an agency or social media marketing prospect, right? So if I have the opportunity, I'm in a meeting with them, or I send them an email, like what are the main questions that I should be asking? And at the end of the day, if you're running any type of consultative sale, right, you should be asking, I believe, kind of 9 core questions. And I believe that these 9 questions are really like the foundation, and they're the basics to running a consultative sales process. All right. So the 9 questions, if you will, are all listed here on the screen, and I'll take you through these. But you'll see that ultimately, at the end of the day, the goal is to get somebody that doesn't necessarily know us very well. They could be cold. They don't know a whole lot about us, to at the end of the call willing to fork up and invest some money in our coaching, our training, or our marketing services. So the first thing that I like to do when I start out one of these calls is I ask the prospect what made them join the call, right? So whether I'm doing outreach, or whether they've came to my website, they found me, whether they're a referral, this question is good, because this question gets them talking. And this question turns the table a little bit. Instead of them just grilling you from the get-go, you're able to turn the tables and get them to really start opening up from the beginning of the conversation. And a consultative sales process should be 80 to 90% your prospect talking, and 10 to 20% you talking. Understand that you're not going to make a sale in a consultative type of sales environment if the roles are switched. Okay, so this can be hard if you're not used to running a sales process. You can feel like you're talking way too much. Okay, but you got to figure out some ways and some methods to turn the table, so to speak, to get your prospect to open up. And so this first question is a great way to set the tone and to get your prospect talking right away. Okay, so what made you join today's call? And typically they'll be like, oh, I need help with my marketing, right? Or they'll say, I really need a coach, or I need help with my social media marketing, right? And I want to push upon you to keep asking why, and to keep asking why until this conversation kind of gets uncomfortable. Because as you keep asking why, you're going to get closer and closer to the root issue, the root problem, and the root opportunity that you have. You're going to learn why it's important that the prospect solves the issue that they're coming to you for. Okay, so a very real example of this, just the other day, I was on a consultation helping somebody with their SEO strategy. And at the beginning of the call, right, I started it off like, what made you reach out to me? Why are we having this conversation today about SEO? And the first couple of questions is like, oh, well, I need help with my SEO. And it's like, well, why? Well, my organic search presence isn't very good. Okay, well, why? Right? And I just kept asking why, and it got awkward for a little bit. But by me asking why so many times, I got to the root issue. Okay, so guys, the root issue is they had no organic presence. It was all paid traffic, and they're getting ready in the next 12 to 18 months to sell their business, and they want to be able to check the box that they have organic traffic. Right, and that's part of kind of the equation for them, and the multiplier that they're going to get when they go to sell the business. And so there were some other things that were important. Their website kind of sucks. They need some help with that. They want some on-page help, but really at the end of the day, they just want their prospects that are interested in buying that business to be able to find them in kind of the major keyword search phrases. So I was able to figure out what makes this buyer tick simply by asking this first question: what made you join today's call, right? What's the reason that we're on this strategy session? And then by me just keeping digging and asking why. So the interesting part about this is, because I kept asking why, I learned that they're trying to sell the business. So folks, if somebody's trying to sell a business and they're going to be getting a multiplier on their traffic and revenue and sales, does my help with marketing, does that help equate to a bigger buyout number, right? Do my services become more valuable or less valuable? They obviously become more valuable, right? So not only do I understand what's making them tick, but now I understand that I'm going to be able to charge a healthy premium for me helping them because they're getting a much bigger return than I had initially intended or that I had initially thought on the investment that they'd be making with me. So if you're joining me live, give me a 2 in the chat that makes sense. And you got a little aha moment there, like, yeah, man, I really got to press that why at the beginning. For everybody watching on YouTube land or on the blog after this gets posted, and you're not live, I'd love to see your feedback anyway. Let me know in the chat. That'd be great. All right, good stuff. Cool. So then, like, I start digging in. So what made you join today's call? We keep asking why till it gets super awkward and we just can't do it anymore. then I want to talk about advertising, like or SEO. If they're hitting me up for SEO specifically or pay-per-click specifically, like my goal is to zoom out a little bit. Like, tell me, Mr. Prospect, like what's worked in terms of advertising. Tell me what hasn't worked. And again, the goal is to get them talking, and you're going to start to understand through these questions what type of a prospect you have in front of you. Are they going to be a good prospect? Are they going to be a good customer? Are they the type of customer that you want? Are you going to get along with them, right? Like, do you want a relationship with them? And ultimately, at the end of the day, like, these are all important things that you should know and that you should be considering in terms of qualification, right? Like, should I pitch my service to these people, right? Or to the person that's on this call. So if you're talking with a prospect and you're like, what's worked in your marketing? And they're like, nothing has worked. And you're like, what hasn't worked? And they're like, everything. Is that a prospect that you really think that you should be pitching services to? Does that make sense? Is that a prospect that you think you should be pitching services to? You better be saying hell no in the chat, or at least in the back of your head, right? If nothing's working or has worked in terms of advertising, like, you don't ever want to be a business's last hope, right? Like, that puts way too much unneeded pressure and angst on your shoulders that you don't want to be dealing with. So then what we want to do is we want to identify the goal, right? And every business has goals. And if they don't have a goal, that there's a problem, right? Like, what's the goal for the next 3 months? What's the goal for the next 9 months? Like, where are you guys trying to get? Like, what's the vision? And how are you guys going to get there? If they don't have this, again, like, is this really the best prospect for you? Like, they got to have some goals, and they got to be able to conceptually talk about this at least high level. They might not know exactly how they're going to get there, but they should be able to say, like, my goal in the next 3 months is to add this many members, or to increase our bookings per day to this amount, and this is what it's going to do for me, right? This is why. If not, like, again, I want you to really challenge yourself and the prospect, and really think in the back of your head, is this the best use of your time, and is this the right customer, right? Are they gonna quite literally, like, fall out the back end, meaning like quit as fast as they came in the front door, meaning like, you know, contacting you? And that's what you don't want for your business. If your agency, your social media marketing agency, your traditional agency, your coaching business, if it can't keep customers and they just churn, I got to tell you guys, there's nothing worse than that in the entire world, right? Like, you're literally running on a treadmill and getting nowhere. So then, like, once they give us that goal, we got to identify and we got to come up with a gap. Right? And what I mean is, we got to get them to realize that they're not going to get to where they want to go without something changing. Right? We need ideally an agreement and a buy-in from them, and it needs to be blatant, right? That they aren't going to get to their goal with what they're doing now, and that they obviously have to do something different or in addition in order for them to get to their goals. Okay, then ideally the next step is we have to get the agreement that what you have to offer whether it's a coaching offer, whether it's a training program, whether it's a done for you marketing service, that what you're doing is going to help them fill the gap between where they're at now and where they're trying to go. And it doesn't have to be the only thing that's going to help fill the gap. It doesn't have to solve the entire gap, so to speak, right? But you got to get them to agree that what you have is going to help them at least start filling that gap. And if you got that last piece, then it's time to ask for the sale. So depending on what you have and how complex it is, right, that agreement that what you have is going to fill the gap, like the second to last bullet there, like that time can differ. Like that can be like 5 minutes to talk about that, right? That could be 30 minutes to talk about that. And that really depends on how complicated what you sell is. It also depends on if you've given any type of training, content, webinar, or any type of training on the front end before they've gotten on that phone call with you or the strategy session with you, right? And it also depends upon the prospect, right? Like you can be selling the easiest thing to conceptually grasp and understand, right? And you could get stuck on the third to last bullet there, agreement that they won't get there with what they're doing now, right? And that what you have is going to fill the gap. Like you could get stuck there for 20 minutes to 30 minutes to 45 minutes just to get that breakthrough before you can finally ask for the sale. So as you keep running these strategy sessions and you keep running them for the same types of products and offers, you're going to get better at question asking and knowing where to go in a conversation to get to the end result faster, right? To get to the gap faster, to get to the goal faster, to get them to really open up and explain their business, right? And so I need you guys to really think about this 9-step process as a process, and that you're not going to become an expert in the process overnight. But if fundamentally you can take these 9 questions as a base, this can be the outline for your strategy session or for your consultative sale that you use to lead your prospect from being brand new and green and not knowing you from Adam, right, to closing an hour later on the spot for $1,000 to $3,000 to $4,000, $5,000 a month recurring residual. Any questions real quick for everybody joining live on kind of these 9 best questions, so to speak? Does this make sense to everybody? Give you guys quick a chance to ask a question, and then we're going to move on to the third and final topic for today's quickie AMA. All right, cool. So a bunch of good questions, like thank you, this is good, this is gold, I'll start using it, etc. I want you guys to conceptually, a good practice, if you're going to take this and start using it, is think about the last time you had like a meeting with a prospect, right? And I want you to think about this outline, so to speak, and these questions and this flow of a call, because that's really what it is. And I want you to think about where your prospect got stuck. I want you to think about what didn't happen, right? Start to make a synapse, start to make a connection between why a deal went well or didn't go well based on this outline. And I think it'll really, really help you guys take your closing skills to the next level.